for my baby. Oh, wow. I just can't believe it.
This is a deeply disturbing story about Tarika Jones, a 26-year-old mother of two whose life ended tragically after she paid a $20,000 bail for her husband.
Less than a week before Kevin Reynolds murdered the mother of his child, Tarika Jones, and her sister, Jaleesa Harris, he was bailed out of jail by Jones herself.
She did pay to have him removed from jail.
Sadly, and it's hard to hear, is the victim in this case wanted to bring her boyfriend home, and 6 days later, that man took her life as well as the life of her sister. It's all happening in this third-floor apartment here. People in this neighborhood still saddened, upset by what happened. Others saying it didn't need to happen.
What makes this story even more unsettling is that Tarika's 22-year-old stepsister, Jaleesa Walls Harris, was also found dead under the kitchen table in the same house. Initially, her husband Kevin Reynolds had been arrested and held in jail without bond due to the severity of the crimes he had committed. Despite pressure on the judge to set a $5,000 bond, he ultimately decided on a $20,000 bond, which was paid, leading to Kevin's release. To understand the people involved in this shocking story, let me provide their backgrounds, which lead us to this tragic incident. Tarika Lene Jones was born on May 21, 1989 in Prince George's County, Maryland, a place considered less safe compared to many other cities in the state. Her mother is Twanda Jones Reed, and her father, Terry Lee Walls, has passed away. Before his death, he created a clear path for Tarika's dreams. She loved the idea of working in education management. Therefore, she studied hard and graduated from Huntingtown High School in 2007. She then proceeded to Fortis College in Hyattsville, Maryland, to become a dental assistant. However, her aspiration for a better future wasn't just about her own dreams. There was a larger motivation behind everything she did. As you may recall, Tarika's dad and mom were her biggest inspirations, so she vowed to be a hero for her own children someday. Like many others, she searched for love, but finding the right partner was not easy. Although one might think her education and career as a dental assistant would help her find a good husband, that wasn't the case for Tarika. Her early relationships resulted in two beautiful daughters, but they did not provide the support she needed. Later, she fell in love again with a man whom she believed would change her life forever. Desperate for love and stability, Tarika met Kevin Therese Reynolds from District Heights, Maryland. Things seemed perfect at first. She introduced him to her family, and over time, her friends also got to know Kevin as the man of the house. However, during this time, Tarika became pregnant with Kevin's child, who would become the youngest at the time of the tragic events. Despite her hopes, this relationship would not bring the happiness she longed for, as challenges and struggles continued to arise within the family. But how did Kevin get arrested for the judge to reveal all his hidden crimes? It all began with a seemingly small incident that escalated quickly. Kevin's behavior turned destructive. The couple frequently engaged in arguments that sometimes drew the attention of neighbors, who typically preferred to avoid getting involved in personal matters. While these disputes continued for some time, one particularly harmful aspect of these conflicts was hard to ignore. In February, Kevin was dropping off their daughter when a fierce argument erupted. It's important to note that Kevin and Tarika had a daughter, and they had an established arrangement wherein Kevin would pick her up and drop her off on specific days. However, this time was notably different, as their daughter witnessed a side of her father that she likely never knew existed. Meanwhile, the tension grew, leading to a situation that could change their family forever. At 6 p.m., Kevin pulled up as usual, parking his car so that Tarika could collect their daughter from the front seat. Right at that moment, Tarika did not realize that Kevin harbored different intentions. Tension was building, and things were about to take an unexpected turn that neither of them expected. While she attempted to lift her child, Kevin, who was plotting his next move, lunged at her, seized her, and slammed her to the ground. As if that weren't enough, he charged at her again, continuing his attack by picking her up and throwing her around, as though he was determined to finish her off in that moment. However, after much struggle, Tarika finally managed to stand again. Meanwhile, she hurried to safety, seeking refuge with her neighbors. But although she may have thought the worst was over, it was only just the beginning of a much deeper nightmare that would unfold in the following moments. On the neighbor's porch, Tarika tried to call the authorities because she still felt threatened. Kevin, chasing after her, knocked the phone to the ground and struck her again before she managed to break free, leaving her daughter crying as she shouted for help. Then something fortunate occurred. Tarika found a hiding spot where Kevin couldn't see her and managed to get help with another phone. With Kevin not too close but still nearby, she hurriedly attempted to reach the police by dialing 911, desperately hoping they would answer quickly and come to her aid. This time, the call connected, but just as the dispatcher began trying to determine Tarika's location to send urgent help, Kevin could be heard in the background screaming and yelling. The dispatcher immediately recognized that this was a critical situation requiring urgent intervention without needing any additional details. Eventually, officers were dispatched to the scene. When they arrived, Tarika shared even more shocking information with them. She explained that when Kevin had asked her to grab the baby from the front seat, she was on a phone call that was about to end. This led Kevin to believe she was speaking to the father of her other child, and in a fit of rage, he started to attack Tarika on the ground. However, Tarika added something that prompted the police to take serious action. She revealed that a similar situation had occurred not long ago, during which Kevin had rushed to his truck and retrieved a shotgun, which he used to assault her. Tarika wanted to call the authorities at that moment, but Kevin's mother had stopped her from contacting the police about her son. It was at this critical moment that Kevin was arrested and charged with first-degree assault. While this should have brought smiles and relief to Tarika, the opposite was true. In fact, it was quite strange and surprisingly the complete opposite of what one would expect. You see, even though Tarika faced danger with Kevin not behind bars, she was a woman bearing a significant load. Caring for 3 demanding daughters was not a simple task, and the responsibility of monthly bills all fell on her shoulders. It was undeniable that Kevin had been beneficial in that area, and this thought echoed in Tarika's mind, leading her to make what would become the most regrettable decision of her life. One morning, she decided to go to the county police where Kevin was detained, telling them that she no longer feared for her life and wanted Kevin to be released. A court date was scheduled to hear his case, and it was during this time that everyone learned Kevin had no bond set for him. However, something shocking happened in the courtroom. The defendant requested a $5,000 bond with a 10% option, meaning they would only need to pay $500 to bring Kevin home. Yet the situation had turned more complicated than they had ever anticipated, as various factors began to surface, creating unexpected challenges in the pursuit of Kevin's release. Tarika, feeling a mix of emotions, realized the potential implications of her actions. Kevin had previously committed crimes that even Tarika did not know. Judge Joseph Wright reviewed Kevin's history of violence, reading the details aloud to everyone in the courtroom. Some of the offenses included destruction of property, first-degree assault, and a weapons conviction. As a result, he was not persuaded that a $5,000 bond was appropriate, even though many people were advocating for that amount. His serious concerns about Kevin's potential for further violence weighed heavily on his decision-making process. Now, Tarika realized the situation had escalated beyond just her concerns. Kevin was now seen as a threat to society, and releasing him would require a significantly high bond amount to reflect that risk. It was no longer just about her feelings. The safety of others was at stake. What you're about to listen to is Kevin's bond hearing, which I was able to obtain for you.
Reynolds is currently being held in no bond. We're asking that you set a bond, Your Honor, to a $5,000 bond with a 10% option and pretrial release.
I have had occasion to speak to Ms. Jones. She indicates that she is not in fear of him and that she, in fact, wants him home.
The facts read as a fairly violent episode. And then if I look at his record, destruction, conviction for assault, which is what this case is actually charged as, first-degree assault, another conviction for assault, a weapons conviction as well. He believes he got off on probation 2 days ago.
Ms. Jones disputes some of the allegations in the statement of charges, Your Honor. I believe that a $5,000 bond is appropriate in this matter.
I disagree. For all the reasons I said, for public safety, for the record, for the way the facts read, I'll set a bond. It'll be $20,000.
As you heard from the recording from the county courthouse, the judge set Kevin's bond at $20,000. Since Kevin could not pay because of his financial situation in jail, the bond needed to be funded by an unexpected individual. With only Tarika's support, the $20,000 was raised, and Kevin was ultimately set free from detention. However, this would be a decision they would soon regret. Now that Kevin was free and back on the streets, Tarika felt immense joy for overcoming the anxiety of not securing his release. She called everyone, including her stepsister Jaleesa, who would later be found dead under the table alongside her. Jaleesa Walls Harris was Tarika's stepsister and also grew up in Maryland. She was a compassionate and supportive person who frequently got caught up in the challenges of Tarika's life, including her difficult relationship with Kevin. Knowing that Tarika was in pursuit of getting Kevin released from jail, she was equally happy when she heard that her sister's boyfriend was freed. However, that happiness was short-lived because of what would happen next. Over the next few days, more incidents of domestic violence occurred in their apartment, leaving Tarika's family and friends increasingly concerned for her safety. They urged her to move, but despite their worries, Tarika remained in the apartment because Kevin paid some of the bills. Since she wasn't planning to leave, her supportive stepsister Jaleesa came over to comfort her, just as she had done in the past during similar situations. Unfortunately, things were about to worsen for Tarika, and this time the effects would be lasting. Just 6 days after his release from jail, on the evening of March 7, 2016, Kevin visited Tarika's apartment in the Cheverly Station complex in Cheverly, Maryland. An argument erupted between them, likely fueled by the ongoing tensions and unresolved problems in their relationship. Kevin drew a gun and shot both Tarika and Jaleesa, causing both women to collapse under the kitchen table. Their children, who were just in the next room, heard the commotion and were immediately gripped by fear.
This was something that happened at 10:30 last night. Neighbors here at the Cheverly apartments, the Cheverly Station apartments, heard arguing and then 2 sets of 3 guns. Boom, 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 boom. Neighbors ran upstairs and they discovered that 2 women had been shot and killed. Their names, Tarika Jones, you can see her in her Facebook page, on her Facebook photo, and her sister, Jaleesa Harris. Now, what we have learned is that Tarika Jones was involved in a relationship with Kevin Reynolds, and there was a history of abuse. Reynolds was arrested in the middle of February after he dragged Jones around the parking lot here and then threatened her with a gun. He was locked up, but Jones actually, according to sources, went to his bond review, said she did not want to move ahead with the charges. His bond was lowered. He was released just 6 days ago.
With Jaleesa present and aware of Kevin's violent behavior, it's reasonable to believe that she tried to intervene. While she may not have acted aggressively, her presence during the confrontation had devastating consequences. Police were quickly called to the scene after reports of gunshots. They arrived shortly and began securing the area while gathering information from witnesses about the horrific event. The children were taken to a quiet area where they couldn't escape the sounds of the chaos they had just witnessed. Tariga's 5-year-old was a key witness who knew the name of the shooter, which helped authorities identify Kevin as the prime suspect. A manhunt was launched and police began searching the area, notifying nearby jurisdictions to be vigilant for him. As they tracked leads and followed tips, they discovered information suggesting Kevin was not where they anticipated. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the manhunt, leading law enforcement on a wild chase as they tried to locate him before he could evade capture. Meanwhile, the residents of Cheverly Station apartments were profoundly shaken by the incident, particularly because it occurred in a place they considered safe. As the situation unfolded, news reporters also arrived, eager to cover this shocking incident.
Well, the bottom line here, sadly, and it's hard to hear, is the victim in this case wanted to bring her boyfriend home, and 6 days later, that man took her life as well as the life of her sister. It's all happening in this 3rd-floor apartment here. People in this neighborhood still saddened, upset by what happened. Others saying it didn't need to happen.
The reporters sought to understand the background of the case, capturing the reactions of the community in shock and disbelief.
And she was saying, "Reed, what have you done to yourself?" And Reed was underneath the table, the other girls were on the other side of the table, and they both slumped and like in a knot.
The coverage quickly spread, and people were astounded to learn that just days earlier, Tarika had paid $20,000 to secure Kevin's release.
Lydia Polk's 2-year-old grandson, Jameer, murdered by his mother's boyfriend 3 years ago. Polk now speaks out against domestic violence. She says women like Tarika Jones must find the courage to get away from abusive men.
Think about you, and if there's a child involved, you have to think about you and that child. That comes first before any type of other relationship.
Tarika was remembered as a kind and friendly individual who was still pursuing her studies to become a dental hygienist. Jalisa was described as a lively young woman with dreams of becoming a vocalist.
See the world with brand new eyes. Your love has made me realize my future looks bright to me. All because you are my friend.
Community members were saddened for Tarika's children, who were now left without a mother. Neighbors and friends expressed their condolences and offered support for the young ones, especially since they had witnessed such a traumatic event. To assist with the financial burden, a GoFundMe page was created to help cover the funeral expenses for Jalisa Walls Harris. The generosity of the community was evident, as many contributed to ensuring Tarika and Jalisa were honored and remembered with dignity. However, while everyone was mourning, news about Kevin's whereabouts began to emerge. Police received tips that he had been spotted in a car 100 miles away. They rushed to the specified location, but unfortunately Kevin was not there as described. Just as they were about to leave, another person informed them about a suspicious black car that had been parked in the lot for quite some time. Without delay, the police drove to that nearby location, and it was there that they made a horrific discovery. As they approached the vehicle, the trunk was open, and no one was responding to their calls. Officers carefully closed in on the vehicle and found the motionless body of Kevin Reynolds.
Yeah, Leon, and we've got some breaking news for you, confirmed just about a half an hour ago and first reported by ABC7. And that is the suspect in this double murder has been found dead, believed to be the victim of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was found this afternoon in Hanover County, Virginia, not too far, we're told, from Ashland. That is north of Richmond. His name is Kevin Tyrese Reynolds, and he had been involved in a relationship with one of the victims of this double murder,
who they recognized from the court hearings just a week prior. Kevin had tragically taken his life in the car, using the same shotgun he had used to kill Tarika and Jalisa. In just a few hours, 3 people were reported dead, leaving a community in shock and grief. The families and friends of the deceased were informed, and the heartbreak deepened knowing that Kevin would not face equal consequences for his actions. According to Jalisa's mother, Mrs. Harris, her daughter had sung in both the church choir and high school, and she had plans to audition for a performance of Aladdin in the coming days.
See, I know that sometimes that I might treat you bad, and you have no idea, you cannot see the facts, and it's killing my heart that I don't treat you right. I try to save myself.
Sadly, tragedy prevented her from participating. There were tears at the candlelight vigil where people gathered to pay their respects, remembering the fallen souls of the Maryland community.
Look at all these people for my baby. Oh, wow. I just can't believe it.
My sister was everywhere all the time. She was very friendly, had so many best friends.
And you better know.
All she did was sing. Everyone always wanted her to sing.
You gonna miss me when I go.
She was so young, and I love her so much.
What do you think could have saved both victims in this story? Do you believe the judicial system was unnecessarily lenient in releasing Kevin? Let us know your opinions in the comment section below. Here are other shocking stories we've covered on this channel, and they're even more disturbing than what you just watched. I hope you learned something from them. If you like the way we present these stories, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. See you in the next one.